And this new record, this debut record I'm putting out is called Blacktop because of that reason, because that industry, that those people gave me an opportunity to provide for my family during the toughest time of my life.
Hey friends, it's your girl Emily Curl, and today we are hanging out with country music singer and songwriter Corey Kent as we celebrate his debut album Blacktop being released. Corey, it's so nice to see you, and first and foremost, congratulations. Your debut album, that is a huge feat. How are you feeling? What's going through your mind right now?
Man, I'm taking it in. I'm enjoying the ride. It's been a crazy road of ups and downs to get right here, right now. And I was working at a pavement company when I started recording this song, and to be, a year after its release, it's top 5 at radio now, and things are just life's changing, and I'm super grateful and just trying to soak it in and enjoy it.
You burst onto the country music scene, but I feel like anyone in the industry knows that it's never an overnight thing, right? There's lots of hard work, lots of years that goes into something like this. So I kind of want to start there with this interview. Take me back to the beginning. Did you always know this was something that you wanted to do? Did you always know country music was going to be your route?
I would say from a pretty young age. I mean, I gotta preface this by saying, like, I was not some music prodigy as a kid. I was a regular kid wrestling and playing football and all this stuff. But I did get the opportunity when I was pretty young to be the front man for a Western swing band. And I grew up in Oklahoma, and that's a decently prevalent, scene there. And so these like Hall of Famers took me under their wing, kind of taught me the history of the genre, and put me on stage in front of a sold out crowd at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa. I was opening for Asleep at the Wheel and the Texas Playboys, and it basically turned into 5 years of touring around. I was 11 years old, got to play all over the country for the next 5 years with the Oak Ridge Boys and Roy Clark and just country music legends, and learn and get thousands of hours of stage time. And then what happened that was kind of the crossroads of my childhood, really, like my high school years, was the band kind of dissolved because I was the youngest in the band and everybody started going to college. And so the band broke up, and I was kind of at this moment where, do I just go back to being a normal kid and doing normal high school stuff, or do I try to restart in music? And knowing how hard it was to just build any momentum for 5 years in a band, do I restart? Do I really want to take that on? And then a guy named Willie Nelson came through town, and essentially I ended up on stage with Willie Nelson singing Milk Cow Blues. And I was like,
this story keeps getting crazier.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, I hope someday I get to like sit down with somebody and we can do like a full-on deep dive on it, because you can't write a crazier story.
So you're on stage with Willie Nelson, and how did that happen?
I scalped a ticket to get in. I made a sign with some cardboard from the freaking concession stand trash can. I ended up being able to go down close enough to get his attention. Held this sign up. And he at first was like reluctant, and then he eventually was like, man, what do you want to sing, kid? I leaned over and was like, I want to sing Milk Cow Blues. And his eyes lit up and was like, what's this 16-year-old kid know 1930s Western swing for? I knew that he knew the song because I'd seen him cover it before.
No way.
So I always approached those moments of like, if I got thrown on stage, would I be ready for the opportunity? It was the night that I realized that, man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. The coolest moment of my career still to this day is looking over to my right side and seeing Willie Nelson at the mic. And I walk up to the mic and I start singing, and I look over and Willie's just smiling from ear to ear. And he gives me like this nod of approval. He just nods at me, smiles, and backs off the mic and lets me sing the whole song. And he's like, yeah, do your thing, young buck. I mean, it was such a cool moment of just like a nod of approval from a country music icon. I packed up everything that I had. I graduated high school a year early, and I moved to Tennessee at 17 to try to work on writing songs.
And then can we also have a moment too, because you were also a contestant on The Voice on Blake Shelton's team, which is another huge legend. Tell me about that experience. I mean, I feel like that had to shape some things for you too.
Yeah, so a couple years after that Willie Nelson experience, moved to Nashville, start writing. doing the whole like sleep in your truck, crash on friends' couches thing. I ended up going back to Oklahoma State to go to school, and was touring that whole time. And while we were touring through, I think it was like Southeast Georgia, I got an email from a producer at NBC that was like, "Hey, we've been following your career a little bit. We think that you'd be a great fit." So I was kind of like, man, this isn't how my heroes did it. They built it on the road. This is how I want to do it. But I have this great opportunity in front of me, and I feel like it'd be dumb to not at least see where it leads. And so walked through the door, and they just kind of never really sent me home. Like I just went a super long way in the competition, and I was 19 and didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just giving it my best, and it was a good growing experience. But that's like, that's 2015. That's a long time away.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
From now. So I feel like I've had so much life has happened in between then. I got married. I got my first publishing deal. My wife and I were living in Tennessee. We had our first baby girl out here. This is, I'll say like 2018. I get dropped from my publishing deal, and, I had some stuff to work on as a man, as a husband, as a father. And so the best place for us to do that was Texas. So we picked up and we moved our things to Texas and kind of restarted life there. Right as we got there, the whole world decided to shut down for a couple of years. I mean, it was just horrible timing. And so I got the choice to either, file for unemployment or, learn how to do something new. So I went to work for a pavement company in Dallas, Texas. And this is after The Voice. This is after Willie Nelson. This is after making a living, writing songs for other people. And like, it was a crazy moment. Just like, I got to do what I got to do for my family. And this new record, this debut record I'm putting out is called Blacktop because of that reason, because that industry, that those people gave me an opportunity to provide for my family during the toughest time of my life. And I started recording. I recorded Wild as Her while I was working there. And this record is what got me back to playing music full time when the world kind of opened back up and we could go play on the road and build fans. So
it's so interesting to hear this backstory again, because listening to your album, the album is so good. It is so good where it sounds like a veteran album, right? It sounds like we already know you, and you share like so much of yourself on the album, including Man of the House, which I know is a really vulnerable song for you. I want to talk about that one because it got me in my feels. Like, that was such a beautiful song. And I know this is a personal experience, especially now knowing you're a dad yourself. Tell me a little bit, again, we want to talk more about the record, but I want to hear, more about this song in particular too.
First off, my dad and I have a great relationship now. And, but really this song was written about me and my mom. Like, I wrote this about the weight that I felt as a kid trying to be there for her during some tough seasons. And, my parents split when I was really young, and, from like 3 on, I just did whatever I felt, was helpful as a kid. And I didn't realize, like, at the time how I felt about it necessarily. And I've, some of my friends, my closest friends and co-writers, I fly out to Texas every now and then to write for the record. And, one of my friends threw out this title, Man of the House, and I went, oh, I know exactly what this is supposed to be about. And it's the only time I've ever really, you hear songwriters say that they feel like they've been given songs. That's what kind of this felt like, where the lines just started to flow out naturally. And it wasn't me trying to think of lines. It was like me reflecting on my life and just being able to, 20 years down the line, really articulate how I felt as a kid. It was a really cool moment, and I had to step out of the right multiple times just to like gather myself and get composure, because these lines are flowing out and I'm like tearing up, and I'm like, man, this is heavy, But I wrote it from a place of like, you notice that I don't really mention any backstory about the dad, like, because I wanted people who maybe lost their dad in the military, or maybe they never knew their dad, or maybe their dad was only around every other weekend, or maybe they were a long haul trucker and they didn't get to see him much. Whatever the situation was, I wanted people to be able to relate to this, because I felt like there were going to be a lot of people that could identify with how I felt as a kid, and that weight of just kind of taking on a role that maybe isn't normal. I never expected it to be received the way that it was, though. It was really powerful to see how many people just poured out their life stories, and they just felt a bond with that song and how it related to them.
I gotta know take me back to the first time you played the song for your mom.
Um, you know, so we don't live super close anymore. So I sent it to her, and you know, she called me when she heard it, and I could hear the, you know, like the quiver in her voice, and she was just like, "I'm proud of you. You know, we've been through a lot, and you know, we're closer because of it. You know, there's those situations that just make you who you are. You know, they suck to go through, and then you get through them, and you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm better for it. And that's kind of how my mom and I view, you know, just the path that life has taken us on. And you know, we have a great relationship, and thankfully now my dad and I do too. Like life just has a way of working things out.
Did the music like bring you guys back together, you and your dad, or was this pre the album, pre the song?
It was definitely pre the song. No, this was more of like a reflection of my childhood. You know, my dad is like, thankfully, like super involved grandpa now, and really cool. It's just like you know, when I was a teenager, we just had some really rocky years, and since then just been able to rebuild, you know, and I think we've both just grown as guys, and been able to put the past aside, and move forward and build this awesome friendship. Like, my dad's one of my best friends, but you know, that was a tough conversation to have with him of like, hey man, this song is coming out, and I know that we're in a really good place now, but this is, I want you to know, this really is nothing to do with you. This is how I felt about my dynamic with my mom, and it's not meant to be offensive, and you know, people make mistakes and make decisions, and what in life happens, but just know that this is my relationship with my mom that I'm speaking on, and it doesn't really, you know, it's not really about the dad in the situation as much as it is the son and the mom.
Yeah, I mean, and how cool that you guys got to have that honest conversation. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't have gotten that, you know, and so that's amazing that you guys got to have that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, best of both worlds now, especially, you know, that I have kids of my own, and they have grandparents that love them and they're involved. It's really cool, man, just to see like over time, just the redemption of everything has been really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Corey, I know we're running out of time, but I have to say it's been so nice getting to know your backstory, because again, I love the album, and now even hearing even more about the sacrifice behind the album, even knowing the story behind Blacktop. It's just so interesting, and I'm so curious. I want to leave you with this one question.
Okay.
If you can go back and tell yourself, that 11-year-old on stage for the first time, you know, knowing all that you know now, the career that you've had, everything that you've done, what would you tell him to prepare him for the next few years?
I would say be patient. It's been a long road since then, and to be authentic. Like, the number one thing that I see as an asset in country music especially is just being authentically you. And I would say, hey, listen, nobody great ever sounded like anybody else, so just be you. Like, everybody else is taken, just be Corey, and put out the music that you love, and know that life's going to be hard, and be patient, and be ready for the opportunity when it knocks. And I feel like that's been my story. Is like, we don't know if the opportunity is going to show up, but if it does, we will be ready.
You're ready. I love it. Corey, we're rooting for you. Congratulations on everything. Thank you so much for the time. It's been so great chatting with you.
Right on. Emily, thank you so much for helping me tell my story and supporting the song.